experiment, and I'm just going to say right now, thank you, James Gurney, for being a part of this.
That's my pleasure. That's my pleasure.
Now
Twitch will have to let us know if they can hear me or not.
Yes, please, please do. I'm going to mute myself so I can't hear myself in my own headphones. If there's anyone in the chat room, we'll see. Maybe it's too early for people. We don't normally chat like this early. Just want to make sure that there's audio coming through and everyone can see and hear and all that kind of jazz. So I'll wait till we've got confirmation on that before we sort of dive in. Because I don't know if you noticed, but yesterday I made that mistake.
I didn't know I arrived too late for that, I think.
It was I literally spoke for 20 minutes before realizing that there was no sound. Because I, on purpose, ignore the chat at the beginning of my Burn and Learn so that I have time to sort of, pontificate. Now, I'm not seeing anyone in chat right now. So, Dinner Beef. Hey, Dinner Beef. Oh, thank God you're here. Dinner Beef, can you hear us properly? Or John Fastlane, or anybody. I want to just test our audio first. Pac Mom! James, would you mind speaking as well so they can see if we can hear you?
I just going to say, I'll jump in as well and say hello, Pac Mom, Gramer, hello everyone.
Woohoo! You're alive and still married, David. Oh, thank you, Pac Mom. Thanks for your confidence in my romantic skills.
But do you notice there's no Baz? I think they said about Baz last night was misinterpreted Jane's requirements for playing.
Yeah, there was definitely some requirements. Okay, so I think the stream's a little bit slower than us, but I just want to check. Can we hear me? Can we hear James? Those are very important.
And if I'm too quiet, let me know. I can always turn up my side.
Oh, yeah, well, feel free. I mean, you're the most important person on this one. Glad we can hear you all. Well, that's good third eye storytelling. Thank you. Good start. So we've got James talking. We've got me talking. James is quiet. So yes.
Let me stick up my input volume.
Okay.
There we go. I got to 95%. How is that?
Oh, how does that? A little better? Yes, can hear today. James is a little quiet still. But wait a sec. We'll see. Yeah, James, talk for a bit more.
Thanks for having me.
Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no.
Let's go live. Talk, James.
Sure, just riff for a while. How are you? I'm all right, and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, no one's complaining at this point, so it sounds like it's good. Hey, Ben, how are you? David is still louder. Well, that's always the case, isn't it? That's because my mic's like right here. Hang on a second. Let me move my mic back a little bit.
I've got quite a fancy podcasting mic, but I do have to get very intimate with it, so I'll go.
How's that? Do I sound a little further away now?
Dave's still twice as loud as James.
I don't know why anyone would be complaining about being able to hear me better, but
On my end, I think I'm about to stick my audio up to the full, so it might require you to
adjust.
To adjust, yeah. So I'm at 100% on my end now.
Okay, I've got my desktop audio. Let's try upping my desktop audio a bit. How's that?
It might be in the Discord. It might be your.
I've actually upped it on the mixer itself, so we'll have sound this. Thank you all for everybody being so patient in this. So here's what the grand experiment is today. I've sort of been inspired by Let's Talk Science and their careers education stuff, where basically they're saying if we don't know that there's a job out there that does what we like doing, how do we know that that's what we want to do? So, not us so much as kids. So they've got this amazing database, this career profile database that they've been sort of compiling over the years. And I thought, how can I help them out with that? And then I thought suddenly, while talking to James one day, boy, this would be a good guy to have talk about his job, because here's a guy who loves viruses. He's this is what he's basically dedicated his life to at this point. He's very passionate about it. What a great guy to talk about this stuff. So I started thinking, there's a lot of people I know, a lot of people I've met on Twitch and such who have jobs that they're excited about. And why not start doing some kind of a thing to sort of showcase that? So this is what I'm calling, and again, feel free to change names or help me out with the naming here, but I thought Great Job would be kind of fun, because what we would do is we would play Minecraft And James has this brilliant idea to actually build things that relate to his profession, his chosen profession, in Minecraft itself. So I will not, I'm afraid, be answering any Stargate questions. I will probably be ignoring the chat for a fair amount of this, but I will jump in as I can. The idea is really to talk to James and get all of the information I can to completely drain him of any useful information about his job. So that is the plan.
5-minute stream.
So we should be done very soon. Exactly. Right. Well, and here's the other thing. We both suck at Minecraft. So there should be it should be both entertaining to the kids and to watch the grown-ups fumbling around in Minecraft. But James, you've got some great ideas that we'll talk about later. But why don't we dive in? Why don't we dive into the game and see what kind of damage we can get into? Now, Baz has tried to tell me how to do this. I think what I want to do is this. Is that right? We'll see. Nope, that's not right. How about this? There you go. That's better. So I will go back to the game where I will probably die instantly. But so James, I've got a whole list of questions for you.
Shoot, cool.
The first one, again, probably the most important question, I guess, would be, what exactly is your job title and who do you work for?
So, my current job title is postdoctoral research fellow at Georgia Tech. So, let's break that down. There's postdoctoral, research, and fellow. So, postdoctoral means I am after my doctorate.
Wait a second, do I have to call you doctor now then? Is that...
You don't have to, no.
No, but come on, you've got a doctor. Should I... I'll call you Dr. G.
Yeah, that's fine. A good friend of mine calls me Dr. G.
I like that, Dr. G. It sounds sort of like a 1980s singer of some sort.
Yeah.
It's a Kenny G thing.
So yeah, I have a PhD in microbiology. I got that from the University of Nottingham in the UK in 2014.
Wow.
And I almost never go by Dr. Gurney unless I'm trying to annoy a bank teller or someone who's
nice. So it's just used for intimidating people in. Yeah, nice.
Here's a quick funny story. The last time I used Dr. Gurney, and the reason I don't use Dr. Gurney very often anymore is we adopted a cat from a shelter. My wife and I, she's also a doctor of microbiology.
Oh wow!
It's about to get dark, so maybe we should hide inside.
Yeah, I'm a little because I'm standing at the top of a tree, hoping not to die. Where are you?
I'm back to where we started, roughly.
Oh, okay. Can creepers and stuff? Can zombies climb trees? Is the next question.
Well, you're gonna find out, I guess.
I mean, I was thinking if I stood up at the top of a tree, I'd be safe. It's like, forget about you, James. Yeah. My guests can die, but I can't.
So my wife and I have adopted a cat from a shelter.
I'm so sorry. You know dogs are much better, right?
I'd love a dog, but we live in an apartment. I don't feel comfortable with dogs in apartments.
No, that's very true. That's very responsible of you.
But so we've adopted this cat, and he's a little bit of a, he's a cat. Let's leave it.
I was gonna say, do you need to say more? He's very cat-like.
He has several issues. And,
right.
So yeah, we were.
What, like medical issues or like psychological issues?
No, just psychological cat issues. The typical things cats do. He complains for zero reason. He'll sit and meow at the front door. He's never been outside, but he's assuming he knows the outside exists. So he just.
They say you shouldn't put cats out, right? Isn't that they're saying that generally it's more humane to.
And also they're just terrible for the environment. They eat a bunch of birds and stuff like that.
Oh, that's true. They're bird killers. That's true. See, there you go. All right. Sorry, but I yes.
Yeah. So we've been looking after him at this stage for 2 weeks, and he got very sick. So he got feline pneumonia basically, and was very poorly. We had to take him back in to make sure he was actually going to survive and all this stuff. So
your cat caught COVID-19 before everybody else.
A while back now.
Could it be feline zero that we're talking about here?
Yeah. So we took him in, and he got some, basic cat aspirin and paracetamol.
Which I'm sure costs a billion times more than human.
No, because he was with the shelter, so they actually did it for free. So it was okay.
Oh, nice.
Fantastic. And then we brought him back, and he's a very active cat. So we had two choices of cats to adopt, or we were actually fostering at that point. There was one cat called Tigger who was sat in his cage, little orange tabby, and was just sort of sitting there happily purring away. Had obviously had everything sorted in his life. He was very happy, wanted to be stroked. And then there was Pepper in the cage next to him, and he was doing somersaults around and around and around the cage.
Oh no, and you went for Pepper, didn't you?
I chose Tigger. My wife, however,
there you go.
Pepper was the choice, so we ended up with Pepper.
Right. You'll find that that's generally the way things work out.
That's the way things
go. It's always better. And Jets are they're usually right too, I might add. Yeah.
And so he's a couple of times he's even hurt himself from throwing himself around too much. So
what?
Like he's thrown himself off couches and stuff like that, and ended up.
You've got a self-harming cat?
Yeah. So one day when my wife was away at a conference, I just came into the lounge and he was crying like meow 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 meow. I'm hurt. I was like, oh my goodness, what's happened? Like, are you okay? Like he could barely walk. So I was like, oh. Called my wife.
I can hear a zombie, just so you know.
I'm underground. I'm hidden underground.
Oh, are you? Oh, good. I'm on the top of a tree. So we're both cowering very well then until night is going to fall. Okay, so sorry. So the cat is howling in pain of some sort.
Howling in pain. I'm calling my wife to try and find out where's the emergency vet's number and stuff to take him there. By the time I work all the stuff out and have alerted basically every authority I can think of, the cat just sort of stands up and walks away fine. It's like, you little... Like, not as if there was never a problem, and he's absolutely fine.
Wait till you get kids. They do the same thing around school time.
2 weeks later, he does the same thing. It's like, oh, maybe there is something wrong with him. Maybe there is an actual problem with this cat.
Like dislocating a paw or something.
Yeah. But again, he cries a little bit, and then he's fine. And then, like, another week goes by, and he's playing with me on the couch, play fighting with me, and he bites my elbow. And his tooth cracks on my elbow.
Oh!
And there's a little bit of blood in his mouth. And I'm like, oh, this okay. There's something wrong with this cat's bones. We got
a dud. Take him back.
We got a dud cat, Mr. Glass the cat.
Can we get it? Did you keep the receipt, James?
So we rushed him to like the emergency vet. It's like 11:30 at night. And on the form, this is where I get back to the original story. On the form, it's like, oh. Most times you don't get an option to be like doctor or anything, but it had a tick for us. Like, okay, Dr. James Gurney, Dr. Shayla Razimi, and
I might have fallen out of my tree. Yes, okay.
I got a note saying Rodney Rhino fell from a high place.
Damn it! Does it? I was thinking might have got away with it, but okay. Yes, carry on.
And with that, the vet's nurse comes out and she says, "Yeah, what's the issue?" It's like, well, the cat was biting. He bit my elbow and the tooth broke. She picks them up, looks at me, goes. That's his baby tooth.
Oh, so they were baby teeth.
Yes.
I was going to say that, but I thought, no, it can't be as obvious as that.
So the first time I've ever identified
as a doctor.
Dr. Gurney. It's like, this is a baby tooth. It's like, oh, excellent. Well, that means we don't have to pay for anything. Cheerio.
But was the assumption being? I've just died again, just in case you were concerned. I think this could be an ongoing theme in this show, is you talk about your career and I just die.
Die in the background.
But so basically, your first attempt at truly being a grown-up doctor, and yes, very good. So from now on, you're just going to go with Mister.
James is fine.
Yeah, or Master James, young James.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, I've got creepers and zombies now. And what the heck? What setting is this server on?
I'm nice in my hole.
I think DStat might be messing.
Go towards that way where you're looking at the skeleton onto the beach back that way.
Okay, go that way.
I'll put a little light out for you.
Okay. Could you hang a light for me? Oh, there you are. I see up there. Okay, gotcha. Okay, very good. Yeah. So this is you've got a safe little home. With a hole in front of it. Very, very good. Very good.
That's the moat.
That's the moat. I fell in your moat. I apologize.
Right. We'll block ourselves in here.
This is great. There you go. So we can get through the first part of the interview this way, maybe.
Yeah. So I have a PhD in microbiology.
So what exactly is microbiology for those of us who may not know
that's great. Yeah. Great question, right? So like everything in the universe, there are several levels of what we should talk about. So I spent 10 years at university. I still work at a university. I'm no longer a student though.
Wow. So how much of that was actually sort of studenting?
That was 10 years being a student. So I did my undergrad and then I did a PhD.
Wow. So you earned the doctor.
Yeah, well, you have to. That's kind of the thing. What a doctorate means is...
Yeah, I figure they just don't give them away. Yeah. You're a nice guy. I'm going to make you a doctor.
I spent 4.5 years studying a very specific question, and the question, when I'm saying the questions, it's a huge topic. So,
right.
I worked on something called kin discrimination and bacterial populations. So
Whoa.
There are several different things going on again in that sentence, but with with any sort of field of like study or
I may have broken
research,
your house.
there's so much stuff going on.
Right.
My PhD was basically asking a very specific question about, can bacteria tell if they're related to other bacteria, and what does that mean for infection?
Huh. So, like, do they work? Do they go, hey, let's work together on this? And
kind of, yeah.
Or do they fight each other? Well, that's a good question, actually. Do bacteria actually fight each other, or was that?
All the time. All the time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's where antibiotics come from. So if bacteria didn't fight each other, we'd have no antibiotics.
Oh, great. Well, so bring on the Discord. Yes, very good. Okay. What are you making? Or are you eating something there? Why do you look
I
like
was
you?
eating some rotten flesh, so I don't.
Well, now you're emanating a horrible green. Yeah. Okay. I see. So the rotting flesh stops you from dying, but at the same time, it ain't pretty.
I think I'm self-experimenting here.
Nice, very good. Well, apparently that's how a lot of these things happen. Okay, so sorry. So run back through that. What was the name of the question you were studying again? That was a fantastic.
It was the implications for kin discrimination and bacterial populations.
Wow. So, okay, got it. That makes a little more sense now you described it. Yes.
Yeah. Kin discrimination is a theory of within the theory of evolution. So. It's asking, can kin, things that relate to, can they discriminate who is related to them?
Right.
So,
did you get an answer? Or am I jumping ahead and that's a spoiler? Is that a spoiler?
No, well, someone actually beat me to the punch for a lot of stuff, unfortunately, but I wasn't scooped, but someone had already shown that kin discrimination exists in bacterial populations before I finished.
How do you find things that hadn't been done before? Like, is that part of the...
That's part of the thing.
Part of the struggle?
That's why you get a PhD. Part of the criteria, especially in the UK, was that you have contributed something novel to science. That's kind of what a PhD means. And like in physics, I've seen PhDs are maybe 10 to 20 pages long because they've come up with a really good theory and they've proven it in 10 pages. And that's the thesis. That's because they've done everything they needed to do.
Wow.
Mine wasn't that easy.
Right.
But so a PhD is it depends where you are in the world. Most places you're treated as kind of like an actual worker, like you're doing a job. Some places you're treated like a student, where like you're still very much learning underneath a like scientific advisor.
Right. This is throughout the 10 years.
So that's throughout the 5 years of the PhD.
Okay.
Before that, you're doing an undergraduate degree, like so any normal degree.
Do I see Jack Jastra moving around in the background there? Is there?
Yeah, someone else's. Yes.
Oh, I see. All right, fantastic. Well, look, just Jack, if you're watching the stream, we're not ignoring you. We're just doing this. We're doing this great job series where we're talking to James about what he does for a living. So I apologize if we're not playing with you right
now. So I spent a long time sort of developing the skills to become an independent scientist. Is another way to think of it.
Right. And what are those skills? Like, what are those? So, what are the?
Most of it is like how to ask questions and how to answer those questions. So, a scientific question has some like nuances to it, like some things you have to think about. You have to ask questions that one typically can be proven wrong. So we call it being falsifiable. So
I like that term.
Yeah. So I can't disprove to you that there's an invisible teapot around Jupiter or teapot around Jupiter. That's one of the classic kind of
like, the spaghetti monster too was the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'll avoid the religion.
Oh, that's a religion one. That's true. You're right. Yeah. Right, exactly.
But I can't disprove something. That if it doesn't exist, you can't disprove a negative. But I can tell you, I could prove saying, if I give this mouse sugar, will its insulin change? Like the amount of insulin, that's a provable question. I can say either it doesn't change or it does change. That's I can ask questions that have specific answers.
Right.
That's sort of learning to think in those terms does require training and does require, especially when you get more complicated questions. That's obviously an easy question, but having the ability and the way to think about the universe in those terms is what science kind of is.
Right. So you were honing those skills of asking the right questions and looking for the right answers, basically.
Yeah, and you know, now I'm pretty proficient in most laboratory techniques I'd ever have to use.
Right.
And which is so. This is the funny thing about becoming a research scientist. I spent, you know, the last 10 years learning how to work in a laboratory, and now I'm going to be kicked out of the laboratory and go work as behind a desk teaching other people how to do this. It's like once you become an expert, they chuck you out and say, well, now you're really good at this, now go do something else.
So are you going to miss the lab?
I think a lot of people do. I certainly will, because I enjoy it a lot. And some PIs, so principal investigators, that's my boss is a principal investigator.
Oh, wow.
It's shortened to PI.
Which sounds way cooler, I gotta say. Yeah.
They typically miss work in the lab, but also when they go back in, because they've been out for maybe 2-3 years, that's a long time.
Right.
So they feel like it gets harder and harder to go back in.
Right. And I guess the techniques and the tools and that changes as well.
So much. I mean, the stuff that's still the same. You know, the more stuff changes, the more more stuff changes, the more it stays the same in some ways. But
what sort of stuff are you doing in the lab when you were in there? Like what?
I work a lot on transcriptomics. So
wow, you did not pick anything that was easy to say, did you?
Yeah. This is a field of study of like how expression changes. So how genes are expressed and how they are selected.
Right. So the transcription part of the whole.
Exactly.
Right. Very good. Okay.
So
I read a little.
Yeah.
Not much. Not enough. I read it. I didn't necessarily understand it.
So this is for people who haven't read it. I'm talking about how life makes proteins or makes RNA or makes stuff. So basically, what do the genes do?
Right.
So this is transcriptomics. So we can look at the expression of different genes in different organisms. I look at like the expression of viral genomes and the expression of bacterial genomes.
So when that virus attacks a cell, what proteins is it forming?
What's it doing?
What's it doing? Okay, right.
What's the DNA doing?
Okay.
Because we need to know that. If we don't know that, then kind of just fighting the things blind, which is a real bad idea.
Right. Yes, I can imagine. Here, try this. Well, that didn't work. Someone else.
But so in terms of like change in techniques, when I was doing my PhD, we used a technology called microarrays. Array.
Microarrays, okay.
These were really cool. So you had on like a little silicon chip, like you put into a computer almost.
Yeah.
You had strings of the DNA, actual copies of DNA, like attached to little pores on the thing, and then.
Wait a second. Keep talking. Keep talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab. I think I have one. I'm gonna grab one.
I've lost him. So yeah, the technology is really cool. You have little bits of the DNA attached to a chip, and on those bits of DNA, there's a little thing that makes light. So if the organism you're working with is also making that little bit of DNA.
I think I may have one. I think I might know this one. All right. Is it something like this? Let me go full screen so you can actually see what's going on. Hang on, coming out here.
I'm on the Twitch as well, so
I'm going to go to talking as Pascal's.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Isn't that amazing?
So we load those things with the DNA.
Oh, so there's DNA on this.
Yeah. Well, that may not be the exact thing, but they look very much like that. I'm just trying to see what that actually is.
Do you want to hear? If I hold it like that, will that help you? Let's get it back.
It says flow cell on it, so
flow cell, yes.
Yeah.
This, I believe, is a new creation that they were showing off at the Biohack the Planet, and I think it probably does have DNA on it. God knows what. Now I think about it, but
that might be a sequencing flow cell. But
oh yes, that's what it is. It's an I sequence. Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Yeah. The technology is very similar. So on the microarray chips, we used to have this DNA attached to those sort of chips and a fluorescent marker. So if you'd flush it through with the DNA you've extracted from your organism, or the RNA actually, And if they bind, if the RNA was in that sample and it binds to the chip, it changes the color. And you put it in the machine, it reads that color.
Right.
So you could tell which genes were being expressed, and you could tell the expression level as well. That technology was like cutting edge 15 years ago. I did it during my PhD. It was really expensive. It was really cool.
Right.
Nowadays, it's completely useless. So like, if
really?
I hadn't done any more stuff since then, I would be out of date by quite a while. Now we do something called RNA-seq, which used to be so ridiculously expensive. It was like prohibited just from cost. Nowadays, we can do it for a couple $1,000s. We can RNA-seq some organisms.
Have you looked at the Odin stuff? I think would we talk about this?
I've looked at the stuff in the past. I haven't looked too much into what they're doing now.
Because they've started selling a bunch of little things, like sequence things, and Ooh, thank you. Yes, please.
Okay.
Are you getting coffee for me?
Yeah, I'm on my lunch break.
You're on your lunch break?
For 1 hour.
Oh my gosh. Well, you should come and keep us alive for a bit. You know, I see, Jim, you've got a pig as a friend.
Yeah. Well, I ate the other two.
Oh, did you really?
Yes.
Is that with your rotting flesh or whatever it was that you ate?
No, I'm about to burn. I'm gonna try and make an oven.
Switcheroo.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm just gonna flick through these questions here and see what. Yes, Beth.
You doing okay in Minecraft?
I think we're not doing so well in Minecraft, but doing very well with our chat. Jim's already on it, I think. Yeah. I'm still holding blocks, basically, at this point. All right. So, Baz, if you're on lunch, maybe you could let Jack know that I'm not ignoring him. I am just ignoring him to do this.
What do you mean?
Well, just that Jack is on the server as well, and I just don't want him to feel like he's left out. But I'm just trying to do this career thing with him. So.
Super tough. Yeah, Jack Dresser.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't worry. He's probably playing alone on this.
Okay, all right.
Fast
Very
adventure.
good. Can I chat with him on this?
What do you mean?
Can I chat with someone on the server with him?
You can if you press.
Is that the slash one?
No. So
No.
you could do that.
Yep.
Or just easier to just press T and then you could type.
So then how would I get in touch with him? Hey, Jack. That just the guy?
Yeah, just like that.
Sorry to ignore you.
He's on Twitch right now.
Oh, he is?
So no.
Oh, he is. No, you know. Okay, fantastic. All right, so I won't worry about that then. Okay. I don't want to let my friend Jack down. Oh, look at Jim. He's building a whole fort around himself.
With dirt.
It's getting dark.
Oh, that's right. And I keep falling out of trees, so I'll get out of your way. Okay, so I'm going to go back to these questions again for us, just to keep us vaguely on track. I've noticed that you and I are just as bad at staying on topic, which is a good thing. So, I don't think I have to ask you if you self-identify as indigenous. Right. So where were you born? Where did you grow up? And where do you live now? How about that?
So I was born in the UK.
Right.
To parents who are from Zimbabwe in southern Africa.
Wow. Okay.
So my family identify as being Southern African.
Right.
But I was very much. I
invited a friend. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, we brought a friend in.
Yeah.
It's a big of them. You're doing fine, kid.
That's nothing weird about this at all.
Yeah. I grew up mostly outside of the UK until I was about 10 years old. So my parents we stayed in the UK for maybe 2-3 months, and then we went back to Zimbabwe.
Right. How was that? I mean, do you remember it well?
I barely remember anything from Zimbabwe.
Okay.
I visited afterwards, but...
Oh, did you?
Yeah. When I was actually living there, I don't remember next to anything. I remember my uncle's chicken farm, and that was about it.
Oh, there you go. That stood out for you. And now you're back here, and then as if full circle, you're back in Minecraft, and we'll have to do a chicken farm. Very good.
Find some chickens.
Yeah.
And we went from Zimbabwe to Singapore. We spent 5 years there, and then we went to Mauritius.
Which is gorgeous.
Mauritius was lovely. Like, if you can imagine being a small kid, and then on April 1st, on April Fool's Day, your parents pack you up and send you on a plane to the UK.
Oof.
It's the worst practical joke they've ever played on us.
Yeah, no kidding. I was in Mauritius I filmed in Mauritius
Yeah.
and it was the most amazing experience because I was required to film on the first day, and then they had to shoot a block shoot of episodes, and then I shot 2 weeks later. So I just hung around for 2 weeks. It was insane.
It's a great place to hang out, I think.
Gorgeous. And then don't allow guns on the island.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a paradise, or it was a paradise. It looks like now. Sorry. Yes. So Mauritius, as a cruel joke, on April 1st, they cart you away to the UK. Where in the UK did you end up?
We ended up in Sussex, so near a place near Brighton.
That's not too bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's no Mauritius, but you know,
not quite the same. It's less sandy beaches.
Yes.
It was
a little less sunshine.
Yeah.
Very cold ocean.
We basically came to the UK to do education because the education in Mauritius wasn't terrible, but it isn't comparable to the education you'd get in the UK.
Right. I think the UK is ahead of a lot of places, I gotta say. I feel like they're at least a year ahead of the Canadian system, and certainly the American as well, just from my experience.
Especially for like state education, which I don't want to use the UK. We call public education what you call private education.
It's so confusing.
So we came back to there. My mother was lucky that she did sort of a correspondence degree for the University of Edinburgh in what was then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe.
Right.
So she and my parents very, very deeply, and still do very deeply, appreciate how liberating education can be.
Right.
We came from a family of basically mechanics.
Right.
And now I am the first generation doctor in the family. My little sister was about to finish her medical degree, obviously with everything going on out in the UK.
Oh no, she's really right, because she was going to graduate, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Everyone's in the same boat. She'll be fine.
Yeah, that's true.
My parents.
Such a brother. Yeah, whatever. Cry me a river. Oh,
I'm a doctor.
Oh my gosh, I'm being attacked by a spider. Don't mind me. Please carry on.
So they really instilled in all of us the value of what a degree can do for you.
Right.
And that I wholeheartedly agree with the position that like I've got to travel and do whatever I want to do intellectually because I was given that advancement as a child, given the understanding that, and that isn't to say obviously everyone doesn't have the same benefits of there's a creeper behind you.
Oh my gosh, what do you do with a creeper? Just hit him, knock him back, and then run. Right there you go. Yeah. Oh, and take huge. You are amazing. You are more of a coward than I am. It's amazing. I should say your survival skills are quite honed, sir.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean I think there's a lot of times when scientists and people who talk about science seem to think it is the only thing you can do and be intellectually superior to everyone else. That isn't the case. I mentioned this to you the other day when we were talking to your tech bandits.
When I was trying to be superior.
Yeah. I know maybe a couple of people who I would consider geniuses in science.
Right.
And everyone else is a completely normal person who just enjoys doing this as their job.
Right.
And they're very lucky they get to do it. Science is not the purview of brilliant minds doing brilliant stuff. It is a lot of good people doing something they like for the passion of it. So
you'd say it's not elitist; it's more democratic in its.
Once you actually get into it, yes.
Right.
But it has that sort of bad publicity of being very much Professor so and so has an IQ of 160, and
right.
No one ever talks about that. No one ever cares about that. That's not how science is done at all.
I was amazed in talking in the people that I've spoken to, who I would have, of course, considered genius, which, of course, I have a slightly different perspective on it. I've just died again. And that was that they always talked about people who were smarter than them. Always.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you'd be at NASA, JPL, and people would say like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm just creating the Mars rover." But the real geniuses are there was, and as you say, there's this wonderful sense of like, well, we all know our thing, but there's no.
Yeah.
Have you? Oh, okay, I see. Right, are you hiding? Because there's a zombie coming. Just so you know. Oh, there's a creeper in our building. There's a creeper in our building. Oh my God! This is.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I'm glad we didn't choose. And I'm being attacked by a zombie. This is the worst stream ever. Oh my God! And
I'm going to help you.
I was shot by a skeleton while being hit by a zombie. I don't know how to,
I'll kill you for that skeleton for you. Maybe not.
Oh, I see. So apparently my lifting of the mouse, because I've lowered the sensitivity so I don't get sick, basically. But I think I'm clunking around a bit.
Just gonna break myself. Oh no.
I'm stuck in this. Oh, you got shot by a skeleton.
Yeah.
Where do you break yourself into now? Because there's really nowhere safe. I'm somehow.
I tried to break myself underground, but it was I was in the corner area, so I couldn't. Let's just go out to sea. I think.
Can we get eaten by skeletons? I mean, can we start eaten by skeletons? Can we eat by squids? Is the next thing?
Maybe.
We should get. You know what we should do is we should probably be making.
We should be doing our thing, shouldn't we?
Torches and things, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jack's here to save us. Thank you, Jack. Jack's our protection.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to my.
You can go hide in your base.
Had some meat in there. I think.
Oh my gosh, this what the heck? What is this server? This is the server of death. This is unbelievable. I can't get over how many things trying to kill you are here. Jack Jasper says he's really bad at saving. Sorry, carry on.
I think the question was also what am I doing now? So I was in the UK for a long time, and then I applied for a postdoctoral fellow position in the south of France. So again, I got to go do cool stuff in a different. Oh, that's you. Oh, sorry, I just killed you.
Oh, really? Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well, it's you and everybody else.
It's just too easy.
Yeah, it really is.
I went to go work in the south of France, and that's where I started working on viruses. So I work on.
Oh, wait a sec. You were in the south of France, but you were into viruses before that, because when we met.
Oh, yeah, I was into viruses way before that, but I got to do it. Again, this is, the semi-brag. I got to do it as I thought something was cool, and then someone paid me for 2 years to go and think about cool stuff.
Right, okay.
Which is the really nice thing about science. I basically got paid to consider stuff I found interesting.
Right. But there was 10 years of learning to get to that point.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not. There's a certain trade-off there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ended up in the south of France. Wow, that's amazing. But where are you now? Like, where are you set up now?
I now live in Atlanta, in Georgia.
Now, do you say you live there, or
yes,
I mean that you feel like you're like this is home now, right?
I plan on staying here as long as I can. So
really? Fantastic!
I'm reaching the point in my career where I get to be a bit more picky.
Right.
Depending on funding or other
it's a very dangerous position to be in your career. Just so you know, all of a sudden there's a lot less work. I find.
And if I don't stay in Atlanta, I'd like to stay in the U.S. So.
Oh wow! Okay, great. So you feel like you feel at home in the U.S. Okay, because that is a strangely different culture.
Oh, 100%.
Compared to the U.K.
Yeah, and it's
even to Canada. I noticed the difference.
My reason for staying here is basically there's a lot more research money. There's a lot more. I have a lot more options to do cool stuff.
True. There's the same thing with the film industry, right? There's just more money in the States for that stuff.
And like I like the lifestyle in America. I liked living in the south of France. Difficult. I didn't speak very much French when I arrived. And
did you find it? Did you pick it up though?
I became conversationally fluent.
Oh wow! And so, how long did it take you to do that?
The full 2 years. Yeah, the 2 years I was there.
And so, could you sort of pick up a conversation now?
I think I would struggle a little bit. I was actually watching some French comedian the other night. I was having to stick the subtitles back on just the
Très rapide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've definitely haven't done this for a while. So.
Well, and the slang and the talking fast, I find it very. I mean, I studied French for my entire high school years, but that doesn't say much because I also spent most of my summers at French summer school because I'd failed so badly.
I'm gonna head towards the Arrow building.
Yeah, let's do that. There may be safety there.
Yeah, I've got enough now to maybe get across there.
I see. Okay, I'm aiming for that.
I would consider I live now. The US is hopefully going to be where I'll stay.
Right. Okay.
But I've had offers, to go work in Germany, Japan.
Wow. Baz is very eager. My son is very eager to go to Japan because of all the animation he's been watching.
Yeah.
And it does seem like an amazing place.
It does seem awesome, doesn't it? Like I have actually, I think I went to Japan when I was about 3 years old or something like that. I don't remember, but I.
Yeah, don't you love it when parents say things like that? Oh, well, you've been to Brussels. You're like, what? Yeah, you were like 1. I was like, that doesn't count. I'm just bounding happily along towards that arrow.
Yeah. There's a base here which maybe might be fortifiable.
Could we set? I wonder if we're able to set our spawn point to that.
Don't we need a bed or something, or do we just sleep in the bed? We need to find some sheep.
If we have a bed, that's true. If we make it, we've got to kill sheep, make a bed, and then then that would be our spawn point. Very good. Oh, there's someone's house here. This is what I worry about. I'm terrified I'm gonna destroy my son's.
So if you go up to that house, are you in the same house as me? I think you're a different house to me.
It says please take one.
No, you're here. So go upstairs into this house.
Yeah.
And hit the bed. And that'll set you. This is your spawn point.
Oh, really? Oh, fantastic!
Away from that horrific beachhead.
Okay, there's a second floor and a bed somewhere. Upstairs. Oh, I see. Yeah. Those stairs. I've got you. Okay, all right, very good. They may learn about where you work. Hit it or just right click it.
I think you right click it.
You can only sleep at respawn point set. Very good. So whoever's home this is.
Yeah, we now live here.
We will be teleporting here often as we get killed by various things. Yeah. Okay, so we're in Atlanta. Yeah. We like Atlanta. We're sticking to the States at the very least.
Yeah.
And that's where your education has found you. Okay, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, and now I'm very much looking for the next level job. So again, going back to the first question, what my next promotion in quotes will be to assistant professor.
Right. Okay.
So that will mean I will become a PI. I'll be elevated.
Oh, you're going to be PI.
PI.
James Gurney, PI. I like the sound of that. Or just Gurney, PI.
I'm growing the mustache to have the PI.
Oh, nice. Well, let me be an inspiration to you then. I've got to clean this up today. I got an audition later today, so I'm going to have to clean it up and make it look even more snotty than it is already. Although snotty is the wrong term, isn't it? Snooty, perhaps. Snotty would indicate that I hadn't cleaned it well. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another question here, okay?
Yeah.
And that is what are your key activities during the day? So what tasks do you perform in your day-to-day?
Yeah. So it changes to what level you become. So at the moment, most of my work is going more and more out of the lab. So I'm becoming more and more of a teacher, let's say. So I work closely with some of the PhD students in my lab, and sort of I'm trying to say this without sounding so pretentious, but I pass on what I know in
You're passing on your knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Well, you're teaching.
Yeah, it's not like a formal lecture. Like we're in the lab and they want to do something. It's like, okay, well, you could think of it this way, you could do it this way, you could think of it this way, and it becomes very. There's a word for it. That type of teaching.
But you can't think of it, or
I can't think of it.
There's a word for it, but
I'm not an English major. Give me a break.
Well, good luck with passing that stuff along then.
And we cover very, very broad topics in the lab about how stuff should get done, who should be doing it, how and how I would do it. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, but that's how I would cover stuff. And it's a two-way street as well, where they're sort of like, oh, well, you could do it this way, and it's
it's an interesting thing to get your head around, isn't it? To find that your students have, I mean, there's a sort of a weird control thing where you sort of feel. I felt like I was being undermined because people knew things better than I did. Then I realized, well, wait a second. If they know things better than me, then why don't I just shut up and listen, and I can actually learn something.
Well, so the point of being a PhD student as well is that you are going to become the world-leading expert in a topic.
Right.
And if you're not at that level, unless there's someone brilliant ahead of you,
Right.
like some amazing professor who knows absolutely everything, you should be able to converse with them at that level. You should be able to say, "Oh, I've studied the T4 virus to such an extent I could go and speak to any world expert about my topic, and they and I could have a high level conversation about the science."
Right.
So if I'm in the lab and they're doing their topic and they don't get, if they should be getting ahead of me. They should be at the point where it's like, actually now they start telling me stuff topic, and
because they're the experts in their topic.
Yes.
Right. I see. Okay. So day to day you are teaching, and are you going out?
I'm also teaching myself new skills. I'm also reading new scientific papers.
Oh, right. So the papers, how many papers do you read? Do you sit down like every day and go through the latest stuff?
Not every day. At least once a week, I try to go through at least a paper.
And where do you find these papers?
So I find them on Twitter because
really?
I set up a bot that goes through all the publications that come out that day and just tweets them out. Just sends a tweet out, and then I read the Twitter and go, nice. That looks like a cool, and then I read it.
And do you have to be signed up to all sorts of different things for in order to get access to these things? I mean, it must cost a fortune to be on all these lists.
Yeah. So luckily, because I work at a university, the library does.
The library does it for you?
Yeah, they cover everything basically.
Wow.
If it's a journal, if it's worth reading, it's probably covered by our library.
Huh.
But a little like handy hint. If you have something you're interested in as a paper, if you email the corresponding author, normally there's like some sort of mark next to the name on the paper, and say, "Oh, this looks interesting. Can I read it?" 99% of academics will send it to you because they're like, "Oh, really? Someone wants to read my."
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah. So because I'm obviously not above using the old "Hi, I'm on Stargate. Can I read your this or can I try your product?" I mean, just from for nerdy interest. Well, that's good to know. Okay, because they are very good at obviously mentioning who's involved in every one of these papers. I'm making some kind of a home here. I don't know exactly what it is, but I thought I might start making weapons in order to survive, just slightly survive. Okay, so day to day, basically teaching. So, and what about but you're saying, that doesn't involve lab stuff?
It does. It does involve a lot of lab stuff. So I still spend about 3 days of my week doing laboratory work. So that's there are several techniques I've been taught and I know, and it's something I've even developed that allow me to answer my questions I'm asking. So currently, one of the questions I'm asking, let's see what level I should do this at. I have a virus that infects bacteria.
Okay.
And
is that what you call a phage?
That's what I call a phage.
Okay, very good. Okay, all right.
Bacteriophage, bacteria eater in Latin.
Oh, really? That's what it means?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's phage, so to eat.
Huh. Okay.
And my phage, which was found by another group up in Yale, teaching with them, it binds antibiotic resistance mechanisms. That's how it gets onto the cell. So the bacteria has receptors all over it. It's for the bacteria to interact with the environment, it has to produce stuff on its cell surface. They don't have eyes, they don't have ears. Everything they do they put it on their cell surface and bump into stuff in the environment, and that's how they work out where they are.
Huh.
So the virus attaches to these receptors. That's how it gets into the cell.
Right.
One of the receptors it uses is resistance. So the bacteria actually has.
Sorry, for some reason you dropped out there.
Oh, I'll go back. So one of the ways the bacteria becomes resistant to antibiotics is also one of these receptors. So it's an actual pump. It's a physical micro machine pump, and it pumps stuff out of the bacterial cell. So if the antibiotic's inside the cell, it then gets pumped outside the cell, and the bacteria doesn't die. So it's a win-win for the bacteria. But this virus uses that pump as an attachment site.
So it's using the output as an input.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Well, it uses it to translocate DNA through the membrane, we believe.
Wow.
But this is a way to sensitize antibiotic-resistant bacteria back to an antibiotic. Because if the bacteria doesn't change its pump, the virus can infect it and it kills it.
Right.
So there's a selective pressure, there's an evolutionary force to change this pump.
And how is that? And basically changing the pump is how it becomes immune to the various different phages that are attacking.
That's how it becomes resistant to the phage. But if it changes the pump, it becomes sensitive to the antibiotic.
Ah,
so
right.
It's a catch-22. So the bacteria has to choose: antibiotic kills you or phage kills you.
Ha.
So
it's like us. Is it going to be zombies killing us, or skeletons with arrows, or just creepers, or are we just going to fall out of trees, or each other?
So this is catch-22. So that's one of the questions I'm asking in the lab. So I have several methods I'm developing and using to test whether or not this will work in the clinic. We've tried, and again, we being the wider scientific community, not just me.
Right.
We've tried these viruses in patients who have been, last-ditch attempts to try and save their lives because they've been very sick.
Right.
With great effect, I should say. This has worked really well in some patients.
Right.
In other patients, nothing's gone wrong, but it hasn't had the same great effect.
Right.
So we're trying to work out why it didn't work in those patients. The honest answer is probably they were very sick.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard to sort of test on people who you already know are quite. Oh, did you just?
Behind us.
Oh, sorry. Let me get it for you. Let me hit it with the wooden axe that I've just spent way too long building. Oh, and there's more of those. Watch out! More of those arrow wielding skeletons.
I'm gonna go sit in this cave.
Yeah, I know. I love the way we just cower. Basically, it's like Yeah, it's not so much great game as a cowering game. I think
it gives me time to go on. So yeah, we know this virus can work to treat patients, and we're asking questions like how can we better test this? So I work a lot on evolutionary principles. Again, going back to my PhD, remember there was an evolutionary question about kin discrimination. So I work a lot on the evolutionary theory of practical applications. So I sort of straddle that weird ground of being both a experimental biologist and a theoretical biologist, where I have to develop theories, test the theories, and then make sure that they are doing what we want them to do.
Right.
So that part of that is I will do what we typically call assays. So
I gotta just hit him. Yeah, I figure if I open a window, I could just hit him. It'll be far more exciting for people to watch that than me staring at a door. I thought so.
So yeah, the day-to-day is doing designing smaller questions around that big question. Say, okay, well, if we know this is true, what does that mean? Going back to this idea of thinking about science, how do we design an experiment that is falsifiable, that tells us something extra? So the last experiment was if we put this bacteria into a wax moth, a little tiny sort of like caterpillar-like thing for an animal experiment.
Right.
How do we then show that the virus was having a positive effect on survivability?
And why would you? So I guess are they what they call model organisms? Are these things that you're basically doing things in things that have similar genetic makeup, or is it just more of a general thing you're doing at this point?
That's a very for the wax moth. That's a very general experiment, because we're looking at base principles.
Right.
And the wax moth doesn't require any sort of animal testing because they're not covered by any sort of legal requirement for animal testing. So like if we're going to do this, I wouldn't do this in a mouse unless we were 100% sure we're actually going to help the mouse.
Right.
An insect larva, I'm a little less worried about being like, okay, well, what's the ethics of killing 60 insect larvae? I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather not if I had a choice, but
for some reason people
right behind you.
Oh shoot, I'm adjusting my sensitivity because I'm trying not to make myself ill. Back to game, and I'll hit him with an axe. There you go, got him.
I've got a sword, so there we go. He's dead.
Yeah. Too bad you can't test on these things.
Yeah. So we're in a very weird position now in the field where we have a lot of low-level experimentation done in the lab, and then we've done very high-level. We've tried to save patients' lives. So we're kind of trying to meet these things up in the middle and draw, connect the dots.
So one day you're working on moths, the next you're actually trying to save a life.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zombie to your left.
I'm not the one putting this in patients. I must stress that there are people way better than me.
See, you do it too. There are people who are much smarter than me doing that. Yeah, it's always a good sign. I'm going to start saying that anyways, just because it just makes me sound smarter.
It's humbling.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a humility thing. So, but so But when you talk about these experiments, so you're in the lab, you are introducing these viruses into moths or moth larvae, and then how would that sort of show itself? How would you know if it's working or not?
Well, the nice thing about the moth experiments is that they are very easy to kill. So these moths are kind of
like us in Minecraft.
Kind of weak.
Right.
Yeah. So we run the experiment. We do replication. So we have a bunch of repeated experimentation, and then we ask, what kind of statistical test can we use on this data to show actually we had an effect? So I have a paper that's on a preprint. So it hasn't been published yet. It's in review, and we tested these questions and found there was a significant, and I'm using the word significant to denote something actually important. It's not just a word in science. It has a very specific meaning. There was a significant effect. So when I say significant to another scientist, they know exactly what level I mean. That means there was a greater than 95% chance that what we saw was true.
Okay.
So if you could run this experiment 100 times, you'd expect by chance 5 of them would have the same result found, given the distribution of the data.
That's an interesting point, though, because there is such a difference between sort of the layman's use of these terms and a scientist's use of these terms.
Yep.
And I noticed that when I ask people questions who are in this field. I'm about to die by a I've got to just try to have a conversation here, for God's sake. I'm gonna hit him with a pickaxe, because that's what the heck happened beside us. Did something blow up?
That was me. I died.
Oh, you died. You exploded.
Yeah,
Good.
Kill me. I had like half a hit point left.
And that so there's a terminology that goes with it, but it's a very confusing terminology in many cases, because, as you say, the words are being used differently in different sort of fields and areas of understanding.
But I think, again, like to go back to like science is just another career. Other jobs have that same thing. Like if I told you, what does the term cold reading mean as an actor?
Right.
That has a term. Whereas if you're talking to a magician, cold reading has a very different term. Right?
What does it mean for magicians?
Magicians, it's a way that psychics sort of do. They know what the person's family history is like. It's a psychological technique of like basically saying nebulous statements like, oh, I David, I can tell from
I can sense in your past. Yes.
That you did you have an accident with water when you were a child? Is there
right. That's why you're hiding inside in a cave while it rains outside.
Yeah, but it's so that every field has their own special.
That's literally what. So the film I was doing with Guillermo before we got sort of shut down by the virus deals a lot with that. The whole idea of these sort of like psychic readings and sort of charlatans and what's real, what's not. You know what, James? I'm going to stop for 1 second and just talk to the chat so they know what's going on here. So just so you know, I am ignoring you, chat, right now, and I apologize for that. But what we're doing here is an episode of what I'm calling Great Job, which is a Let's Talk Science charity inspired little session where I get to talk to people with exciting jobs, or more importantly, I think, perhaps talk to people who are excited by their jobs, by their work, by their careers, by what they've chosen to do in their life. And the idea is to get kids aware that these jobs exist, and to make sure that that they have sort of an understanding of what those jobs entail. So we're having a very casual stream here, playing some doing a terrible job of playing Minecraft, but doing a great job at talking to James about what he does with viruses and his job description and how he got into it and all that kind of stuff. So I apologize if I'm not addressing the chat like I would normally do. I'm just sort of trying to get as much information out of James as I can right now. So there you go. There you have it. Pass it along. If someone else comes in and goes, hey, why is David not speaking to me? You can let them know on the chat. There you go. All right. James, you still with me?
Yeah, still here. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay.
I'm gonna start building, getting stuff ready to do the size thing, because I think we can still do that.
Oh, can you do that? That would be amazing. James has this brilliant idea. I'll let you talk about it.
I'm just gonna build try and build the difference between the phage, the bacteria, and everything else, and to show people
get a sense of scale for these things.
Yeah.
And one thing that Minecraft is fantastic at is scale, because you've got the blocks as your system of. As long as you get over 256, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's where the scale of the bacteria is ending. So I'm gonna have to.
Of course, I realize that I have 10 minutes until my next meeting now, so we've chatted on happily for far too long.
I can come back later in the office.
I think this is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It'll give me time to collect resources as well.
It'll give us time to get better at Minecraft. See, this is the problem: is everyone else is getting time to get better at Minecraft. I keep having to do damn meetings, so.
There's a bunch of skeletons out here too.
Not having to. I'm actually quite excited because I always find talking to Bonnie very inspiring. Bonnie is the person who created and runs Let's Talk Science.
Yeah.
Another person who talks about all the brilliant people she gets to work with, if that makes sense.
I mean, this is the nice thing about science. I assume it's the same for other careers as well, but I get to work with some of the most passionate people you can imagine. Like everyone's doing this because they kind of really love it.
Well, that's it. I mean, look, that's why I find it so exciting. I mean, it's, people get very excited about acting, obviously, and films and TV and stuff, but it's a very, but it's definitely something that is about, it's about them for the most part, rather than about the world in general, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So science is just such a lovely other side of your brain to be focused on when you're not doing that acting thing. Well, look, we've got 10 minutes. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm going to bow out probably in 5, just so I've got a second to get things together for Bonnie. But if you don't mind, I'll definitely come back in and play a little later. I mean work. I mean work hard.
Well, again, this counts as outreach for me, so I can.
Oh, does it? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's just my wife still thinks I'm just playing. So
my wife said the same thing. It's like, you're gonna go play Minecraft. Of course, that counts as outreach. Sure.
Right, exactly. Yes. I could write a letter for you if you want. Okay, so here's a good question, actually. So, what specific science, technology, engineering, or math do you use at work? You've got to cover
all of it, I guess, right?
Yeah, you basically cover all of it.
Yeah. So I work a lot on the mathematical side of things. Is something I've really tried to my own skills in a lot more, because I did like wet biology, as it's called. So I did stuff in the lab, holding pipettes, that sort of stuff. And I've really spent a lot of my later career trying to understand the mathematics behind stuff. So I've done mathematical modeling and statistical modeling. So they're two different kinds of high-level mathematics.
Right. Speaking of high-level mathematics, is that you up the top of that hill there building something?
Yes, I'm.
Oh, very good. So you're high-level mathematics and Minecraft at the same time.
So, and it's. I think a lot of people think science is all, really big equations, and you have to understand super complex mathematics. I tell the students when I do formal lectures at my university, there's a very good chance that you know more mathematics than I do, because I'm not a mathematician.
But you enjoy the math, though, don't you? I mean,
I love it. I love it. I just wish I'd spent more time engaging with it at their level.
That's exactly the same for me. I never saw the importance of it. It was never, it was never clear to me why I would need it later on. And it's not about needing it; it's just wanting it. There's just so many more things you can do with it.
You know where the worst part is for maths for me is one of my favorite hobbies is doing woodworking, and I wish I'd spent more time understanding angle.
Oh my gosh, I know. When you get into 3D printing and all that kind of stuff, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There was a very interesting question which I'm going to ask you that the kids brought up at Tech Bandits the other day, which is like, why do they have to use scientific notation for numbers? Why don't they just say millions and billions and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I said it was because it was just too, it was just you have to remember what all those different, how many zeros each one of those words means, whereas you can see it with the numbers.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's the computers aren't particularly good at taking, well, they weren't particularly good at taking like a verbal argument of saying a million. Nowadays, you type that into Google, it knows exactly what you mean. It knows by context what a million is.
Now, and also, and different countries have different billions too, don't they?
Well, that's it. Like at the UK, a billion is not the same as an American.
No, which I literally had no idea about until recently, which I think is insane, because the one thing I thought that was consistent at least was mathematics.
With numbers.
Yeah, numbers basically. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're using science, technology, engineering, and math. What about so the technology? What technology are you using? Any specialized technology?
Ooh,
Obviously.
So my favorite bit of technology at the moment. We use a couple of really cool things, which are just blow my mind in some ways.
Right.
So we have a machine which is part like it's part of a mass spectrometer. So
right.
It's a time of flight mass spectrometer. Moldy TOF is the acronym. It has a whole
Moldy TOF.
Moldy TOF.
Nice.
And what it does is it basically sniffs different products and different chemicals, and it's amazing. So it has a tube that shoots stuff up really quickly and then drops back down through, I think it drops back through magnets and different like electron gates and stuff. But this is like particles of like proteins and things like that. So it can tell you what the constituents of a thing are. Like it can tell you, oh, it's got this much of this much of this carbon, this much of this thing.
Wow.
And just thinking about what's actually happening in that tube, and it's just amazing to me that like how did we get to the part where, in the 1800s when Faraday was there playing with a magnet and compass, to I can now shoot something through a tube that's smaller than I can possibly imagine, and this computer can then tell me how much like of a certain element is in it.
And what is it limited to certain elements?
It's limited to like reactive things, like redox reactions, I believe.
What is a redox reaction? Oh boy, have I done it now? Oh dear. Okay, all right. I'll leave that one. But basically, you're using a form of spectrometry. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So it's
which is basically seeing. I mean, spectrometry is basically is that not just that's seeing sort of the different color changes or whatever it is? Is it in astronomy? It would be color changes.
That's a type of spectrometry. Yeah.
Right.
So we're seeing the changes in mass. Basically, is what we're actually measuring.
Okay.
And different changes in charge as well.
Oh, okay. All right. And that makes sense. That makes sense why it would be more of a sort of an electronic technology, because it's actually measuring those kind of things. Yeah. And is this one of those is one of these crazy expensive tools that? So,
it certainly used to be. Again, nowadays, a lab, someone who's got money from the university could buy one. It's not going to cost billions of dollars or millions of dollars.
Right.
Tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is still obviously a lot of money.
Right.
But it's not beyond the reach of
like a private.
Have one like a fancy microscope. There's a really cool is microscopy, which
sorry, for some reason it cut off during that word.
Confocal microscopy.
Wow, that could be why it broke up during that word.
It was just like this goes like.
It was like, oh, for God's sake, that can't be real.
That's not a word.
That's not, he's making stuff up.
But so the thing I use often. Oh, I fell out a tree.
Oh.
I fell out my.
And I'm being hit by something. Oh no, that was you. Okay, never mind.
It was me falling past you quickly.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got hit by you falling out of a tree. Perfect. Yeah.
The other bit of technology I use often is something called PCR, so polymerase chain reaction.
Oh yes.
And that has so many different like uses in the lab and around different places. And it's been around since I want to say since the 80s. And a guy called Kerry Mullis sort of had a very easy fix to make it a lot better, and he won the Nobel Prize, I want to say 1994 for it. But this technology basically revolutionized molecular biology.
Well, and they now have they now have sort of desktop versions that you can get from one of our Josiah is selling those, I believe, or at least telling people how to get them.
Given enough time and maybe some YouTube tutorials, I could build a PCR machine.
Well, because it's basically the idea is that it's dragging things out with electricity, isn't it? Like dragging things through a gel.
That's electrophoresis.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so wrong. Never mind. That's why I'm an actor. Now, look, as I tackle this zombie, I realize I have to go and have a chat with Bonnie from Let's Talk Science. So can we reconvene?
Yes. Yeah.
And I will say the same thing to everybody on the chat as well. I look forward to actually getting a chance to talk to the chat as well. I'm gonna die. I'm about to get hit by like 1,000 zombies. I think I should just end each one of these by being killed by something. All right, James. I will check in with you after I have finished chatting with Bonnie, and probably after I've eaten something as well, so I make a certain amount of sense.
That sounds great. I'll do some other work.
All right.
Well, let's aim to do the size thing.
Fantastic. Yes, that would be great. So we're gonna do the different size of these different things that James will be playing in the lab. So fantastic. Thank you, James.
No worries.
All right. Now we'll see if I can actually end this stream properly. All right, everybody. Look, thank you so much. I apologize that I have not had a chance to chat with anybody, but as I say, I'm trying to pick James Gurney's brain as much as I possibly can. And I am so appreciative to James for doing this, by the way. All right, let me get back to this. I will go to the talking scene, as my son has so aptly named it, and we'll be back again in an hour or so. So, cheerio! Thank you so much. I'm sorry it's such a mess today, but it's really fun figuring this out. So, bye.
Cheers.